Alrighty folks, today's the day. Winter weather is back and it's coming with a vengeance. The time is 6:30 a.m. Good morning to you all. And it is February 12th. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. You can probably hear it in my voice. I just woke up, but I want to check the weather models and figured I'd do a video because of it. So, again, we're talking about this winter storm that's coming through tonight. Starting actually more along the lines of 2 p.m. this afternoon. And then it's going to continue into Thursday. And then we're also talking about the potential for another winter storm shortly after, starting Friday night and continuing through the day on Saturday. So there's quite a bit on the table with this potential storm setup here. So we are going to go over each of the models and get an idea of how much snow we could possibly see. So this is the HRRR model, giving you an idea of how things are going to unfold today. This is 7 a.m., so this is about a half hour from when this video was made. You can see that there's snow starting to loom over portions of Missouri and Iowa, which, as a matter of fact, there is some snow that is already falling across portions of southern Michigan, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. That probably will not last too terribly long. It will probably start to pass through, and then we'll start to see the arrival of this upcoming winter storm. Now, I think the focus point for heavier snow totals will be in this region right here as it makes its way through. Again, that's going to be where the heavier snowfall rates are, and that is looking to target areas such as southern Michigan, southeast Michigan, and maybe portions of northeastern Indiana and extreme northwest Ohio. Progressing forward, you can see that this snow band will begin to make its way through. Starting at around 1 p.m., it starts to enter the Michigan area and Indiana areas, and then as it progresses forward, it begins to shift to the east and gradually increase in intensity as it makes its way through. We've got Gulf moisture making its way in through here. You do notice that we have a little bit of a dry slot kind of forming in right here, which might impact how this pattern will overall unfold, but it still shows that there's going to be moisture being drawn into the system and that you will have some heavy snow bands forming in multiple areas along this region. You can see that heavier snow band that tends to develop. Oop, that's my alarm. We're going to ignore that for now. But the snow band does make its way across portions of northeastern Indiana, northwest Ohio, southeastern Michigan. And if you get a sounding out ahead of this, you can get an idea of how the overall pattern for this system. You can see very saturated air. Once again, as I talked about in my video earlier this week, we do have very saturated air associated with this, okay? And with that comes the potential for more snow, because that's going to lead to more condensation and more ice crystals forming. So that's going to keep that in mind, that because of the saturated air, that's going to influence how much snow is seen. After it passes through, one thing that we're also paying attention to is the potential for maybe a bit of lake effect. Now, the HRRR seems to be downtrending in terms of the lake effect for southern Michigan, but areas such as the Upper Peninsula, northern lower, that are going to miss out on this one winter storm will likely see some snow on the back side of it. So that's something to keep in mind with this system that's coming through, that there will be a northwest flow with this on the back side, and there might be a little bit of lake effect snow. Not too much, though. I don't think there's going to be too much lake effect snow associated with this system. So that's just something to keep in mind. Progressing forward to the next chart, one thing I'm pretty fascinated about by this storm setup is the thunder snow potential. I do believe it's there, okay, and if you can kind of get an idea based on the HRRR model. So progressing forward, you can see as we get into the afternoon hours, we will start to see the potential for maybe a bit of thunder snow starting to show up. Now you can see that it's showing 0 flashes per 5 minutes for every kilometer. Again, the chance of a rumble of thunder is present. Not sure how good it is, but you can tell that there is some signals for thunder snow, particularly across central lower and southern lower Michigan through just starting after dark. So again, it's something that's not too common, so it's something that will be appealing for today's chase, which I am going to be chasing this afternoon and evening, so make sure to check that out. The live feed will be linked in the description, I think. So progressing forward, as that moves through, it'll start to dissipate by about 6 to 7 a.m., and we will not be really worrying about the thunder snow. Ontario will be dealing with the thunder snow, though, later on with this, so pretty good stuff to note with that. Now, here's the projected snow totals from the HRRR. We're going to compare models because, again, though the HRRR does a really good job with snow sometimes, it might be downplaying it a little bit because there's a lot greater model consensus on a little bit more snow than what is being depicted here. So you can see, I would say this is likely more of the low end, except if you live near the Thumb area or eastern Michigan. I think that's probably a bit more accurate. So again, you've got 4 to 6 inches, maybe some locally higher amounts closer to 8 inches across eastern Michigan. But take a look at the other models real quick and get an idea of what they're saying. They're hinting at a wider band of 6 to 8 inch snow totals across southwest lower into eastern Michigan. And if you look at, now the icon also is hinting at that lower end setup, but the NAM is also hinting at higher end. The RAP is at a higher end setup, the RDPS is at a higher end setup, the GFS, and also the Euro and the GDPS. So I'm actually thinking more of like 5 to 8 inches for particularly the region that is noted here. I think this is probably a good bet as to what could occur with this system. This is probably the lower end, this is the higher end. So around 4 to 8 inches for a lot of places, but places such as eastern Michigan I think could see closer to 9 or 10 inches. I don't think we're going to see a foot for any of this area. So just pointing that out there, that is unlikely. So that's kind of the overall setup with this. And one thing also to hint at is the potential for ice. There is potential for a little bit of ice with this system, not a ton, but you can see that some models are hinting at the ice accumulation really focused towards portions of northwest Ohio where that transition point will be present. Southeastern Michigan is going to have about a few hundredths of an inch of ice potential there. So again, we were talking about ice potential for southern Michigan. That potential is there, but it's really, really low. I think it's really going to be primarily a snow event at this point, but it's a good thing to just keep in mind. Now let's look at the Saturday system. So we just talked about the system that's coming through today. We'll be out chasing that starting at about maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock. Going forward, now as we progress this thing forward, you can see that's the storm that we're dealing with, okay, today. And then as we get through to Saturday, there is going to be a new system starting to form along a low-pressure system that's going to be making its way off to the east. There might be some initial snow that comes through with that as the storm begins to initially develop. Again, it's going to start getting attracted to that Gulf moisture, and it'll start interacting with it to produce some more precipitation. And when it does, that's when we'll start to see more snow. Now, you can notice that the GFS or the Euro is kind of hinting at, this thing's going to be kind of scattered in stages. And again, we don't really know too much about this system just yet, other than the fact that it is likely going to bring more snow to the Great Lakes region, and I think the snow totals could exceed 3 inches at least, okay? I don't think it's going to get really that high, though, based on this model output, so it's just something we're going to be watching for later. On the back side, though, we are going to see even more snow associated with the lake effect. We're going to have an Arctic air mass once again making its return to the Great Lakes region. This is for the Upper Peninsula right here, but you can see that the temperatures could get down into the negatives again. Okay, so again, we're going back into that Arctic setup potentially. Now down here in Michigan, I think the Arctic air may not make it all the way. May not make it all the way down, but however, the temperatures for the highs will be in the teens across portions of lower Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. And as we see this kind of setup here with this sounding, take a look. Notice you've got a very saturated lower level atmosphere, okay? And then as you go further up, you have that split between the temperature and dew point. When it splits apart, that's when you start to see that potential for condensation to occur. Your dendritic growth zone is low between 755 feet and 2618 feet. So again, lake effect snow is on the table for Monday and Tuesday and possibly even on Wednesday based on what we're seeing with this potential for cold air. So lake effect snow is making its return, and that winter storm we're watching for Friday and Saturday as well. And also the Weather Prediction Center is thinking about considering this as well. Now this is a higher level of what it's being shown. It's showing the probability of snow accumulating greater than 8 inches here. So keep this in mind. This is for Saturdays. This is for Saturday's system here, and it shows the probability of snow accumulating 8 inches is low across western Michigan, which is probably a fair assessment, okay? I think we will see potential for snow accumulations greater than 3 inches on Friday and Saturday, but exceeding 8 inches, that's a long shot. It's something we have to watch out for and see if the models change later on. Actually, if I go to the 72-hour, I just noticed that's a 48-hour, but here's the 72-hour probability, okay? So this is the probability from snow with this system coming through and with Saturday's system up until 7 a.m. Saturday. So again, that's a Friday and Saturday system, so not everything's being reflected here. But at the same time, overall consensus from everything I just told you. Winter is back, and that's pretty much all I have to say. Lots of snow on the way, so if you're a snow lover, good for you. If you're not, I'm sorry. This video, hopefully it was helpful to you. Thanks for watching, everybody. And make sure to subscribe to stay updated. We will be storm chasing probably quite a bit over the next few days. Thanks for watching. See you all later.